Hey everyone, thank you for coming and joining us for another episode of Within the Cauldron, where mysteries and secrets are within. Tonight's guest is going to be this most amazing lady ever. She has so many things on her plate, um, and it just comes together nicely. She's a pro at it. She knows how to do it. But let me introduce my co-star, Reverend Spark. Hi, Reverend Spark.
Hi, Chrissy.
Yeah, it's been ages since I've seen you
I
last.
know it's been way too long.
Oh, no, really.
Mhm.
But you think, are we ready for a guest to come on?
Definitely.
Oh,
I
definitely.
adore this lady so much.
Oh, no, so do I. Okay,
Mhm.
so the most amazing person ever that I have known, Miss Selena Fox. Hi, Selena.
Great to be here.
And thank you so much for coming on tonight and joining us. Especially since we're a new podcast, we've only been in the works for about 4.5 months. Um, Family of witches, my daughters, my husband, my cousin. So we all take the realms and try to do the best we can here. So I want to get started first. You have 3 anniversaries coming up this year. And I'm just, oh my gosh, I don't see how you can get anything done. I mean, well, actually, you have 4 anniversary because it was the 50th anniversary of Circle Sanctuary. 50 years. Oh my God. Was you a baby when you started that?
Well, Circle Sanctuary, 1974, that was a good year. And it actually was part of the work that I was already doing back in the late 60s and early 70s. I was one of the many people that helped birth Earth Day. And and craft and paganism was part of my life as I was an undergraduate at the College of William and Mary, and then did some grad school for a time at Rutgers,
Hmm.
came to Madison, and it was a strong inspiration to birth Circle Sanctuary back in 1974. So you have a bit of the 60s, the pagan renaissance of that time. You've got environmental dimensions. You have goddess spirituality that was emerging, second wave feminism, gender equality. Back then, it was called gay liberation. We
Yeah,
now know it as LGBTQ plus
yeah.
community, and Circle Sanctuary, myself, others that were helping with the formation of the Circle Sanctuary, we're all embracing these amazing ways of being, of evolving
Mhm.
culture, of connecting in with ancient ways and new forms. So, yes, um, technically our 50th was at Samhain, but this is time release. We started celebrating early in 2024, and we're kind of continuing that as we gather more photos and videos from over the years for our archives. And 2025, we have 3 anniversaries.
I know. Let's start with Lady Liberty. That's going to be 40 or 45.
1985 is when we were born. So Lady Liberty League turns 40 years old.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. My goodness. And how did Lady Liberty come about?
Well, it wasn't called Lady Liberty League back in 1985. What happened in 1985 was that there were some forces in the federal government that were seeking to um, put some limitations on religious freedom
Hmm.
in our country. I find it very interesting that some of the same people who were involved with that back then, and some younger generations of them, are continuing that work. There was federal legislation that was introduced on Capitol Hill that would have taken away 501c3 tax
Mm,
exempt nonprofit religious organization status from Wiccan groups. We were one of the many people that recognized this threat to Wiccan, witches, pagan, druid, nature, spirituality, religious freedom.
mm,
So this was before social media,
Mhm.
before the digital age with email and websites, um, even before digital bulletin boards and browsers and all of this. This is 1985. How did we network? Phone call,
Mhm.
face to face, postal mail, telegram.
That's right.
And so
ah,
I got word of it when I was speaking in the Hollywood, California area at Harvest Moon Festival.
oh,
Someone came running into the festival and said, the US Senate has just passed this attachment to the postal appropriations bill.
Mm.
And the postal appropriations bill, because that was our main way of communicating when it wasn't on the phone or face to face, had to get passed. And this was an amendment, Amendment 705, and September 26, 1985, passed the US Senate by unanimous voice vote.
Mhm.
Well, we had only a few weeks to do grassroots lobbying. So not only myself and other people with Circle Sanctuary, but we encourage people, not only pagan and witches and Wiccans, but people of many faiths and no faith, to contact their elected representatives
mhm,
and to express concern and to try to get this amendment stopped. In 1 month's time, we were successful. It
wow.
had to go to the Joint Conference Committee, which considers different versions of bills, the House and the Senate, and it got voted down. Now, was it voted down because it was unconstitutional? No, they gave the technical excuse it's attached to legislation that's not appropriate. That was a political cover for people.
Mhm.
So, as we went into Samhain, we had a major religious freedom victory. And I'm so thankful for everybody that stood up and raised their voices as a result of the networking that we helped facilitate. We had a whole circle network was in its early stages, and we connected with lots of people, reached out to groups and individuals, to metaphysical stores, to religious organizations and many paths. And what we called then the pagan strength web
Mhm.
emerged. A few years later, when we had more opportunities to network, we took on the name Lady Liberty League. And why Lady Liberty, you ask? I invited people to call on Lady Liberty in their magical ritual workings to watch over us, to guide us. She is an icon of America, an icon of American freedom, the US Constitution, and she's a pagan goddess. Like it or not, by some people who don't want to recognize that, she is libertas and she has her roots in ancient pagan Rome.
Awesome. That is incredible and stuff. Um, yeah, I like the diversity that you have, like you was just saying, it's just for anybody, witch, non-witch, pagan, non-damn, you know. That's like with our Facebook group. we are just like that. We try to do diversity for anybody to come in and do questions of the day, spiritual questions, and podcasts of different types. So yeah, I would like that because diversity is what we need a lot.
Well, and think about it. We're part of the nature religion
Yeah.
Right.
sector of
Mhm.
world religions.
Oh
So
yeah.
we have a lot in common with Native
Oh,
American traditional ways, indigenous ways at
Mhm.
different places all around the earth.
Mhm.
What's unique about American paganism is that
What's called
we
a
are
Tibetan bird fly.
weaving together traditions from Europe, and now with America being so diverse, with
Mhm.
people from all over the world, that there are forms of paganism rooted in other
Yeah.
parts of the world that are all part of this great nature spirituality umbrella.
Right.
I've more, over the last several decades,
Yeah,
I've
check
used that
it out.
term
So I don't forget
increasingly
it.
because our inclusion
mhm.
Or maybe
involves
you
not
just
only
maybe you check
witches
some
and druids
people in the
and
bird fly.
pagans and heathens and pantheists, panentheists, animists, goddess spirituality practitioners. I worship the old ones, reconstructionists,
Yeah.
polytheists, nature mystics. There's just a
Yeah.
very large circle of
Yes,
people.
there
But what
is.
do we have in common? We are attuned to nature.
Yeah.
We celebrate the rhythms of nature. Some
Yeah.
of us, it's the cycle of sun, the
Yeah.
cycle of moon, and the cycles of light, light passage ceremonies. And I am so thankful that in many parts of the world, pagans can be more open now. And through the digital age, we can connect through podcasts,
Mhm.
live streams,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and social media.
Uh-huh.
It's really
Yeah.
the community of pagans continues to grow.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
um, with that being said, okay, so um, back in like the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s,
Mhm.
do you think that the nature path, I'm not just saying rich or anything, but do you think it's growing more and more, or is it
Yeah.
getting less behind?
I see
Mhm.
continued growth, and it's multi generational now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Back when the resurgence happened, there it was multi generational then,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
part of what's happened is some of us, what some call the old guard,
Hmm.
that basically have been around for over 50 years and that are still doing this,
Yeah.
Hmm.
you know, we're now up in the senior years, and we have Gen Z and Gen X and millennials and all those generations. There are people who are involved, and I'd say with social media, the networking has just really
Yeah.
expanded out, and to be able
Yeah.
to do a live stream to YouTube.
Mhm.
How amazing. When I
Yeah.
first started doing
Movie game.
witchy broadcasting
Right.
back in the 70s, we
Oh,
were
you can
in
do that.
a studio
Yeah.
with big equipment, and there was a control
Just
station. We
basically a
had
cockpit control
lightings,
or
and
whatever.
Yeah.
we did the whole route. It was definitely on a budget. It was community
Oh,
Yeah.
sponsored TV.
Hmm.
But I'm
Mm.
coming to you live
our
on my
kids were
cell
doing
phone.
spaceships.
I know it's great. It's awesome today's tech. My husband says it's magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly,
um,
just get
now
when the forget
this is
the
going to be the
social tape looks like
45th
this
year
because the
of
double file.
pagan spirit gathering in June.
Yeah.
So, do you have any plans? Because
Yeah.
it's the 45th year. You have something special going on. I mean, 5 years it'd be 50. So, are you kind of just set
Well, the
back until
40,
50th year and then surprise everybody? Hey, it's 50th year.
Just take
Or
Yeah.
you do
take
something special
precursor
this year?
forget to 3. unless you desperately want to fly the assault frigate, because the Kiki is way good, and the T1 frigate kind of sucks donkey dick.
So are you
So
doing something
was that
special this
also
year?
part of the question?
Oh yeah,
I'm
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
okay,
The assault
so
That's
I'm
frigate
hearing
is
multiple.
okay.
good,
So
but for the
essentially,
niche uses
we
with
are
the Kiki,
celebrating our
you
45th
use the Kiki
anniversary of Pagan Spirit Gathering in a variety of ways. We, for the first time in many
and you
years,
just use it
are
for
bringing
Wolf-Frigate
Pagan
reference too.
Spirit Gathering back to
Wolf-Frigate.
Wisconsin.
Oh
And
yeah.
so that's where it all began back in
Yep.
1980.
Mhm.
Yep.
But this is the first time that we are having Pagan Spirit Gathering in a forest.
Mhm.
We have always had
Oh.
forest as part of our venue. We go to natural campgrounds where there's facilities,
Uh-huh.
but there's
Mhm.
also some woods for people to go out. So they're big open spaces usually, and then some woods that are in the more remote parts. Well, this year we have as our theme, no surprise, sacred forest. And we're
Wow.
going to be in
As
what's
long as
known
the
as the North
Pinky
Woods
precursor
of
started
Wisconsin.
war,
And
but you
so
can do
we are
fortifications
going
like
to
the
have
Celtics and Wolf-Frigate
some
Systems.
special programs, and we're going to be having some of our presenters this year and musicians are very woven into forests and trees.
Oh.
Coming from the UK, we have Dave the Bard and Siri, and they're from England.
Uh-huh.
And we have Christopher Hughes
Oh.
from Wales.
Mhm.
So we have
Oh.
this strong druid piece, a witchy piece, and of course, there's a heathen piece, and the different forms of paganism all come together at Pagan Spirit Gathering. And I'm wondering if Reverend
Right.
Spark will tell us a little bit about our Pagan Leadership Institute, because we have been offering that not only for people within the Circle Sanctuary community,
Uh-huh.
but this
Mhm.
is the way of doing leadership training
Mhm.
for people of many paths.
Yeah.
Yeah, if my cat will let me talk, he wants some love right now. Um, so yeah, Pagan Leadership Institute has been going on for a number of years, and it's one of our training paths that we offer every Pagan Spirit Gathering, and we've also been offering it at Circle events as well. And it's classes that are for anybody in the pagan community who feels called to leadership in any capacity whatsoever. And it teaches all kinds of leadership skills, like anything from how to organize a ritual, how to work with the media, interpersonal skills such as very basic skills of deep listening, the kinds of things that, if you were going to be a minister or a leader in the pagan world, that you would want to know, and that would enrich your ministry if if you consider yourself a ministry or a priestesshood. Very good classes. And this is a special track that has its own time slot at Pagan Spirit Gathering, so it does not conflict with very much. And we've been offering it for years. And this year we have a great slate of teachers lined up, both ordained circle ministers, such as myself, as well as some very excellent presenters, authors, people that are definitely at the apex of pagan leadership.
How long have you been? I know, I'm saying, is it 2023 when you became a minister there?
Actually, 2024, so very recently, but I have been involved with Circle Sanctuary since the late 90s. So it's just been a long time coming.
So,
I've always been, for the entirety of my adult life, I've been a member of the Circle Sanctuary community. And so it's just been the culmination of many years of love and interwovenness with Circle.
Now, did I see on your bio that you sent to me,
Mhm.
you working with children?
I do work a little bit with children, both professionally as a registered nurse and also as a pagan minister. I have done some workshops with children. I used to be a junior high science teacher once upon a time. So working with children is definitely well within my wheelhouse. I love them. I wish that we had a lot more programming for children in the pagan community. And both I and Reverend Florence of Circle Sanctuary have been working on increasing offerings for pagan children.
Now, I remember when my husband and I, well, Thunder, I guess everybody knew in the community here, Thunder and
Yeah.
Gypsy. um,
Yep.
Now, I'm pretty sure that you was the one that did
Yeah,
like
I'm
a
just going to take the
recycle
Proteus and just sit on that side of
workshop
the door.
for the pagan picnic that we had one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought. Yeah, I kept thinking, okay, I think she did that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was during my second of 3 careers when I worked for the Department of Natural Resources.
It's been
I've had a lot of careers. I'm pretty stuck on nursing though, so hopefully this will be the last one.
a
But you never
long
know.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, at the time I was working at the Department of Natural Resources, so I had access to the people and the connections to make that happen. And yeah, introduce some pagan children to recycling and why it's important and what it does for our natural environment, which is
Yeah.
very important to a lot of pagan folks.
And I
Yeah.
think part of the reason paganism has been growing is
Mhm.
more people are aware we do have to take better care in terms of how we live our lives to live
Yeah.
sustainably.
Yes.
Yeah.
And more people who are young are recognizing climate crisis and are urging environmental action.
Yeah.
And another part of
There's
what
also
Circle Sanctuary has been doing
Oh yeah.
over the years, and I mentioned, my own connection with helping to birth birthday, along with hundreds of other people around the country. Um, the idea of not only greening our life and
Mm-hmm.
how we live, but
Yeah.
greening death. What
Yes.
is that?
Yeah.
Well, we're celebrating Circle Cemetery's 30th anniversary.
Amazing.
So we started Circle Cemetery at our land project, Circle Sanctuary Nature Preserve, back in 1995. We actually planned to have a cemetery even before we found the land. But why did we wait until 1995? That's when we paid it off and had the title. We didn't really want to put human remains on the land until we
Right.
had a clear title. And for many years, we were able to scatter ashes. No special zoning was needed.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2010, we were able to get 20 acres of our land, Circle Sanctuary Nature Preserve in southwestern Wisconsin, USA, zoned to do full body burials. We have to
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
expand our cemetery. And we're basically doing old pagan practice with
Mhm.
our green cemetery. So it's new and cutting edge,
Mm-hmm.
greening the end of life, but we're actually tapping back into
Mhm.
paleo paganism,
Right.
back to the Stone Age.
I
Yeah.
when I was talking to Ed from Today's Switch magazine last week, he was telling me about the story about the pinnacle on the grave on the
Yeah.
gravesite and everything, and I was like, "Oh yeah," I go, "That was just such incredible thing that happened because with my husband being in the military, well, ex-military, I should say now, you know, that's what his choice would be having a pinnacle on his tombstone.
Mhm.
So, and that is something that would would that be on any on the tombstones in those cemetery? Can you
Yes.
would that be okay? I thought
Yeah,
it
we do
was
have a number of headstones at Circle with the pentacle on it that were provided by the VA. There's some in Arlington National Cemetery. There's some in both VA and uh, non-VA cemeteries around the United States.
I just have
And
to go out to cemeteries and look and leave an offering for those
Yeah.
that serve our country that is pagan.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And it's,
I haven't seen one
um,
yet.
yeah, I haven't. Well, if you go to Arlington, at the visitors center,
Hmm.
unless they've changed the technology, which perhaps has happened, but there was a way you could look up individual graves of people
Hmm.
buried at Arlington, and it would tell you what section it is.
Oh,
Section
wow.
60 is known because the war in Afghanistan and the war in Iraq, many of the people killed in action are buried there.
Oh,
And I know that there's at least one pinnacle marker there because it actually even got into the press when a turning point in one of the conflicts made headlines. They showed all the headstones, and amongst all those headstones was a pinnacle. And
hmm.
in the columbarium, which is also at Arlington, where ashes are stored in a kind of a memorial wall, there's also pinnacles there. Circle Sanctuary worked with many people in over a 10-year period to get the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs to add the pinnacle to its list of emblems that could be included on the memorial markers it issues for deceased veterans. It took 10 years. We were in a support role from 1997 to 2005, but after other groups who had been taking the lead just weren't getting anywhere, we decided that we would move to the front lines.
Hmm.
We were totally open to supporting other people to make it happen. Um, for myself, I'm descended from people that helped birth the United States. And so I've had multi generational involvements with federal government agencies and the government as a whole. I'm descended from people that fought in the Revolutionary War. Everyone from the private Philip Barr, who wintered with George Washington at Valley's Forge and survived. I'm living proof. I'm part of his offspring. Um, to Colonel John Weems, a friend of Washington that helped run the war,
Hmm.
and James Kinsey, who was in the First Continental Congress. Those are just a few of my ancestors, and there are others, the Revolutionary War doctor and people working on ships and other places. And over the years, within my own family system, there has been great respect for the importance of the foundations on which our country was founded: religious freedom, separation of church and state, freedom of speech, and just to name a few. And it was really important for me to take a big chunk of my life during that 10 years to join with others to really work with our governmental systems to get the success. So I'm happy to report we did get the pinnacle on the list in 2007. More than 200 of those markers have been issued in public and private cemeteries all across the USA. The next pagan symbol to get on the list is a heathen symbol, Molinor, the Thor's hammer. And we were supporting that, but we weren't the people,
Hmm.
the family that made the request that got it on. And then we helped get the Awen, the Druid symbol, on the list. And
Wow.
and so now within Circle Cemetery, we have Veterans Ridge. We have one Awen marker and um, another 10 pinnacle markers with some other ones coming soon. So we think it's really important to honor our dead. And even though many people recognize our work for peace around the world, interreligious harmony,
Mhm.
understanding, we also are supportive of the warrior tradition. And therefore, we sponsor Wiccan and other pagan groups. It depends on where they're located as to what the umbrella term is. But we have several dozen groups that are at military installations, on ships, and overseas.
Mhm.
And the number of pagans serving in the military is continuing to grow.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. That means a lot to a lot of military families because sometimes just our faith is so important to us. I know my faith is everything to me, and people can take away your homes and your clothes, your cars, and everything, but they cannot take away your faith. You just got to keep the faith, and they cannot take that away. So that is just amazing. And
Well,
then,
we are on another quest that we've been on now for 30 years. And at winter solstice, when I had an opportunity to do some national media about winter solstice and contemporary paganism, it seemed it was time to make it visible that this has been going on for 30 years. And what is this quest? To have a pagan military chaplain serving alongside other chaplains of other religions in the
yes,
US military. Why do we need a pagan military chaplain? First of all, as I mentioned just a short while ago, the numbers of heathens and druids and Wiccans, witches, pantheists, and all those other names that
yeah,
can be used as an identifier for contemporary nature religion, nature spirituality.
right,
Those numbers are growing, and we need to be able to have at least one chaplain who not only can do work in a particular area, but
yeah,
can advise the chain of command on what's needed. Needed not only for those serving, but their families,
yeah,
and to be part of the mix of veteran support. So,
mm,
Circle Sanctuary is an endorsing organization for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, and we achieved that goal in 2017. We are we have applied again to be an endorsing organization, um, and that happened about a year ago.
Mhm.
And it is my hope that things take time, that we'll be able to get the status that will allow our candidate to then have his application considered, and hopefully he'd be accepted to be able to serve in the U.S. Army is basically
yeah,
what his plans are. So there are a number of quests for equal rights for our people still underway, not only in the US, but around the world. And it's really important that we get full equality in the larger society called the USA.
My definition
That's
of
our
community is
foundation, and we need it. So,
right.
Lady Liberty
It's a
League, um, that's
not
been doing it.
necessarily
And
formative to just be
Pagan Spirit
considered
Gathering
normal business.
is where we have our annual Lady Liberty League meeting. And then,
Right.
of course, the Circle Cemetery, whose anniversary we're always happy to celebrate our anniversaries.
Mhm.
There, as a result of our work with military, we have Veterans Ridge in our cemetery, and we have a military support altar in our main temple room.
How do you? I know you said that at the pagan spirit gathering, you have the Lady Liberty meeting stuff. How does one get into get involved? I mean, is there a form to fill out? Do you have to come to like pagan spirit gathering all the time or something? I mean, what's the criteria for that?
A good
Basically,
way to get involved is social media.
Social media.
We have a Facebook page, and yes, if people do come to Pagan Spirit Gathering, the advantage is you get to meet those of us who are part of the Lady Liberty League leadership team in person and get the inside scoop of what we're presently working on. We
mhm,
don't always put what we're working on social media. Sometimes you're able to get more accomplished with
Hmm.
behind the scenes direct negotiations than necessarily taking it to the court of public opinion,
mhm,
or going into actual courts. We
Hmm.
actually try to not only problem solve when discrimination happens, but we are proactive in that we try to build bridges of understanding about what contemporary paganism and nature religion is about. So we're very involved in a number of interreligious things,
mhm,
um, and and that we've been doing since our very beginnings.
mhm.
Yeah. Liz, you want to add anything to that?
I was just going to reiterate what Selena said. You can always contact Circle. There is a Lady Liberty League link on the Circle Sanctuary website where you can see the staff involved with Lady Liberty League. You can also, there's a help request form. Um, what to do if you face discrimination, all kinds of information on Circle Sanctuary's website.
Great.
And it's a volunteer
Mhm.
network. So those who are experiencing some type of difficulty, make sure you go to the website and fill out the help request form. We really need it in writing. We need a good way to be in touch with you. And as we take a look at what you send, it's really important that you give us as much detail as possible.
Hmm.
And when we can call you, often we'll do phone calls, and we've been able to do many different things over the years. One of the things involving interreligious understanding has been taking part in the United Nations World Interfaith Harmony Week every year.
Mhm.
Now, the World Interfaith Harmony Week is international, multi religious, and it happens to be the first 7 days of February. So, lo and behold, our Imbolc Festival this year is right on Bridget's Day, February 1st,
Mhm.
in the Northern Hemisphere. And we have our Imbolc Festival.
Right.
And not only are we sharing news of that through live streams on our website, through social media, we're on Facebook and Instagram. We have a YouTube channel with quite a bit of information and rituals and workshops about Imbolc for free if you aren't able to come and be with us in person. That's a
Oh,
way you can,
Yeah.
tune in and celebrate. I do my workshop at our Imbolc Festival as hybrid. That means if you aren't able to journey to southwestern Wisconsin and be with us, well, join us online for the live stream to Zoom.
that
So we
nice
do require
offer.
people to register in advance.
Yeah.
And those of you who are listening live, well, you have another couple hours to
Oh,
register. Uh, we close registration Thursday night before a Saturday festival. So there's enough time to get everybody information. I'm going to be doing a Bridget enchantments workshop, brand new. We're going to chant um,
Yay.
and work with Bridget in a number of her forms.
oh,
Bridget of the Sacred Oak,
Mhm.
Bridget of the Sacred Waters, Bridget of the Sacred Fire, Bridget of the Sacred Sun, Bridget of the Sacred Land, Bridget of the Sacred Swan. Well, most people know the triple Bridget. You
Mhm.
know, she who has inspiration for the bards,
yeah,
she who has healing for those in need of healing and well being, and she of the forge and transformation in the crafts. But she has many, many facets. And as you can tell, I'm definitely into Bridget. This is what I call my composite icon. I got it when I spoke at a festival, oh, maybe about 15 years ago from the artist Heidi
oh,
Sutton. And it has Bridget in her various forms, pagan goddess,
yeah.
Celtic saint, and what I call her a multicultural, interreligious goddess. And for 2025, I call her the goddess of resilience. Think about it. She started as a pagan Celtic goddess.
Yeah.
Christianity came over, and not only to Ireland, but other Celtic lands.
Uh-huh.
And then she continued to be honored. She had a um, transformation into Saint Bridget. Well, she today is multicultural, international, multilingual, and interreligious. And why I like this image of her is it shows her with many of her different forms, and it pretty much speaks to that versatility and resilience. And I really think Bridget can help us be resilient as we look at changes happening in our world, climate change issues, as well as political
Mhm.
upheavals in different parts of the world. And resilience, hope, power, empowerment, wisdom, these all can come from working with Bridget, not only at Imbolc time, but throughout the year.
Yeah.
Oh, that is great. That is a beautiful picture too. I love that picture. We got some comments. Mostly that's what they are, just comments. A lot of people says you're awesome. Of course, we all know that. You're awesome. Thank you for everything you have done and still doing. Richard Magic Fly says, I'm so excited for the workshops.
Look,
So,
how are the auto targeters just started
and
for
let's see here. A lot of people are
software?
saying, hello, great conversation, that they love you, very inspiring. So, yeah, you are all of that. You are,
That's
you are
Well,
just
awesome.
so amazing.
you know,
Mhm.
each of us has our own special
Yeah.
um, dynamic. And I do think as we deepen our connection with spiritual practice, with magical practice, it can help us tap into not only our essence, but that part of us that's interconnected with not only other humans, but all of nature. Nature with a capital N,
Yeah.
not only here um, in this incarnation on planet Earth, but cosmic. You know,
Yeah.
we're in the middle of something called the Planet Parade.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
invite those of you who not only honor um, Mother Earth and are very focused or centered with spirituality, but have the cosmic dimension
Mhm.
to your spiritual practice to go out between now and the end of February,
Mhm.
look between the east and the south up in the sky, ideally on a clear night, Ideally, when the moon isn't shining real bright, we're just new into the new
Yeah.
moon and the new lunar year.
Curious
So
Cynthia,
you
if
look up
Mars
and you'll
represent
see
only
a
2% of Mars in
variety of
T2.
planets all in the same, they look like they're in the same portion of the
Oh,
sky.
Yeah.
So
I
it's called the
know.
planet parade. So this Imul is really special, not only with interfaith harmony
Mhm.
week starting off, but we have the new moon waxing. We have the beginning of the Lunar New Year, the
Mhm.
year of the wood snake, for those of you
Mhm.
who have connections with forms of astrology rooted in old Asia.
Mhm.
Um, and it is a time to be able to celebrate many things.
That is so great. So Reverend Sparks, we have my good friend Benny. He
Mhm.
is. Let me just show it here. There, can you see that? He's a minister and was leery about connecting with witches. But now, as
Okay.
he for us are like family that I
Mhm.
can get advice from. How do you feel on the connection with both? With both of us, you mean? Or
Yeah.
so
Um, I'm not sure if Benny can add a clarifying comment. That would be great. But yeah, I think one of the wonderful things about pagan ministers is we're not usually terribly full of ourselves. We recognize we're humans just like you, and we are for the most part we're not very as egocentric as some organized religions can be. Definitely not all. And so I think it's just wonderful that if you can connect with pagan ministers and leaders, that you're going to find people who are in it for the right reasons, because our hearts have led us to the goddess and to nature and to the divine in its many forms, and we understand what that path is like, and so we are happy to guide you and to connect with you as a person, as an equal, not just as leaders.
right.
And
And
I do think spiritual leadership has been part of paganism
mhm,
since its ancient times.
Yes.
And there are some people who are called to do this work, not only to do their own personal spiritual practice, but as part of their life's journey, feeling a call to help be a catalyst for other people connecting with their resonance with the divine within. And I do think that Circle Sanctuary actually, we chose the minister term back early on when we began as a church. Back in the 1970s, us
Yeah.
developing Circle Sanctuary as a 501c3 religious, and yes, the word institution,
Mhm.
was not, that was pretty innovative for some
Mhm.
people. And it was concerning for other people who were
Mhm.
going, institution, what do we want an institution for, you know and part of that was coming out of what we might call the counterculture influences of early paganism in the 20th century, where people were taking a look at established institutions and really wanting to dispel racism, dispel sexism, ableism, and a whole lot of other discriminations to
yeah,
really have things be more equal. But what wasn't fully understood by some people is the value of actually working within the structure of a society, to be part of the infrastructure and to work within the system rather than dismantle the system. So we
Right.
helped, I guess, we contributed to paganism owning the word church and the use of the word church in the public sector, including pagans.
Right.
We have um, been part of redecorating the halls of religion
Hmm.
to make sure not only Abrahamic faiths, Muslim, Jewish, and Christian, are considered part of the world religions, and those religions rooted in originating in Asia and the Middle East. You have Baha'i and Hinduism, you have Taoism, Confucianism, Buddhism,
Yeah.
but there's this whole other sector of religion, the nature religions, sometimes known as animism. And unfortunately, as humankind has evolved and things have shifted with more technology, nature religions haven't always been understood. For in many places, they are still actively suppressed. And not everybody, even in the USA, with our freedom of religion, is happy that pagans exist.
Right.
However, we are part of the spectrum of world religions, and I really think that this imulk is a good time to do some workings to energize those
Mhm.
of us who are trying to build those bridges of understanding, and for everyone to really look for world interfaith harmony, not only 7 days in February once a year, but year round.
Yeah. That's what I always tell my coven and my students. And, you know, this is not just once a week. You
Right.
got to walk the path every single day, 24/7, and it's not easy at times because it is kind of hard at times. But, I've never been in the broom closet. I always I always like for who I am, you know. I don't care what my family and friends always thought of me because, it was my beliefs, it was my universe of nature, It's just I love it all.
Right.
I've never ever change, and I couldn't even imagine not being who I am right now. And with that being said, you know, for your legacy, what type of legacy? Because you are leaving a legacy behind you, whether you know it or not, you are. So, what type of legacy do you actually want? So people will know you by.
Well, that's a really good question. Um, I do see that part of my life work has really been about helping humankind reconnect with nature, and not just in
We
terms of
could put it
seeing it as some
on,
kind of
uh,
backdrop to our lives,
we could put it
scenic
on the
backdrop,
tree
no, but to actually connect
and
with
have
nature as an evolving, interconnected community of life, and not just nature here on planet Earth, but in this
they
larger
have to be
cosmos that we're part of.
just
I have a
look
podcast called
for
Circle of
Goliath.
Nature,
Yeah, for
and I
Goliath, the hawk
share
moth, the yellow jacket.
ways of walking that path. I do think another part of that's been central to my life is helping
They
to
don't use
bring
seven,
the
so
wisdom
if you
and
do have it,
teachings
no,
of
you
old
don't have
pagan
to just listen
cultures
to them.
and
Yeah.
people in
Yes.
new ways into the present day and carrying it
Well,
into the
first,
future.
because I saw
And
that
I do think
the Zor
we need
pagan, I
to
forget how it was called.
recognize
It
that
doesn't like stop.
what is contemporary nature spirituality and all of its diversity has its links with the most ancient of times.
Mhm.
When you think about the Neolithic age,
Right.
I mean, we're talking several thousand years ago,
Mhm.
there were circles of stones
Yeah,
aligned to the solstices and the equinoxes, and some even with these cross quarter days, some of the old sacred sites, mounds, and sacred trees and sacred stone circles and standing stones.
Yeah,
So many of those old sites really spoke to the fact that humankind was tuning in to the rhythms of nature. So I really see part of my work doing archaeological work, doing research, and bringing that information into the here and now to help preserve it for the future is really important. Another thing that I've had is very central to the work that I do is the power of word and sound. In the early days of Circle Sanctuary, I actually was one of the first pagan traveling folk musicians. My partner at the time, Jim Allen, and I were a duo. And as pagan festivals started happening, we were called to go and do concerts. So we not only performed music, some old folk songs, but we created music. And I specialized in chants. I did some songs, but mostly chants.
So
And
your
I'm
options for
continuing
floods
to
would
do
either
that
be
work.
mind flood for
So I know
capacity,
already some of my
X
chants
instinct for sick
are
readers.
out on the internet as traditional, even though
Yeah.
they are only 50
I'm just
years
saying those
old.
are your options. That's it. Just like
We have some comments we need to catch up here, so bear with me here while I
I
grab
would say
some.
mine's looking to be your best option.
Here, this is from Munistera, an ode
Especially
Native American story told us that you
no,
cannot
because you've never
take two
been.
canoes down the river. You must choose one. You found a way to navigate your canoe in today's maze. Yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
exactly. Let's see here.
And thanks to everybody for your comments and
Yeah.
questions. One of the
I was
great things
wondering about
about
you
live
using
streams,
fact
we
checks
can
to
have a
get to.
conversation in
Yeah,
real time.
that is so true.
Yeah.
Lise is saying, are there online schools you all recommend for learning how to become ministers? I've attended one a long time ago, but I'm
Yeah.
curious how else we can all learn where we are.
Well, I'll share some things about ways you can get some online training. And then I'm going to
But
let
yeah, mind
Liz
flood
talk
is
about her
completely different.
ministry training program that Circle
Yeah.
Sanctuary does. It has some in person components because we want to have a
Yeah,
more
well, for
holistic
mind flood, it's armor
part of our
repair,
educational system.
missile radius,
But we pretty
shield
much are
boosting,
doing
and
Zoom
optical
and
range, so not
we have
extended missile
recordings and
deflection.
all of that. So, one resource that Circle Sanctuary has that includes some leadership training is our Circle podcast. Now, we just
Yeah,
switched
because Selena
platforms.
has a
We are
slight
now in
difference.
Spreaker. We were on Blog Talk Radio before for many years. We
Mm-hmm.
started in 2011 with our first podcast, but Blog Talk is shut down. So, our upcoming shows are on Spreaker now. I have one on MOC that just got released. So you can go to our website and learn some information that way. We have an archive over 1,000
Mm-hmm.
shows. Some of those are workshops, some are rituals. Now we're in the process of transferring them into the new platform. So be patient, they will pop up. Some other places that we have information, including leadership training, is the Circle Sanctuary YouTube channel. And I also have some things on my Selena Fox channel on YouTube that may be helpful. But to really get
Mm-hmm.
what I would call an online course and instruction, we have cohorts, we have a training program. So, Liz, why don't you tell us a bit about how that works? And I'm so thankful for your leadership in helping to run our ministry training program.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. So I'm on the board of the or part of the leadership team of the minister training program at Circle Sanctuary. It's a approximately officially it's approximately 3 years. I'm definitely the one outlier. It actually took me 10 years to complete mine.
Time
But
release and other things that you were
yeah,
doing.
I had to take time out to go to nursing school, and some other life circumstances occurred. But for everybody else, it's taken about 3 years, give or take. And what we do is it's on a trimester basis, and on Monday evenings around 7:30 Central Time, we have a class that meets via Zoom. We have instructors who are not just Circle Sanctuary ministers, but experts in related fields that we bring in to present and train the folks that are going to become Circle Sanctuary ministers. And there's a practicum. You choose your project. Mine was organizing the classes for the minister training program, and which is a task that I continue to do because it's just so much fun. Getting to meet everybody and working on the schedule, it really appeals to my organizational obsession. So it's a great program. You'll learn a whole lot. You'll get really well connected, not only with other circle ministers in training, but circle ministers who are already ordained. You'll get to meet pagan leaders from many walks of, from many different paths. And at the end, you're going to have a lot of good skills that you will have been trained on and that you will have practiced before we hand you that ordination certificate and do the ceremony. Applications are open through, I want to say, the beginning of July now. We're fine tuning the timeline for that. But definitely you can reach out to Circle Sanctuary. I'll see if I can put my email address in the chat or something, and you can contact Circle Sanctuary and find out how to apply for that if you have an interest in becoming a Circle Sanctuary minister. The wonderful thing is that we have a very great variety of people, and we have many opportunities not only to learn, but also to be part of leadership. We encourage students who have expertise in a particular area to co-teach or teach a class of their own. We encourage students to teach Pagan Leadership Institute classes and to lead rituals and to be part of the Circle Sanctuary community on many different locations. So both at Circle and at Pagan Spirit Gathering.
Oh, and that's a really good summary. And I wanted to mention a couple other resources that are online that might be of interest. And why I mention it, kind of a tag team with Reverend Spark, is that some of our students in our program are helping us with our full moon circles every month. They're free, they're live streamed to the Circle Sanctuary YouTube channel. And we have musicians sharing music. We have people reading poetry, doing reflection, guiding meditation, guiding workings. And we have this as a way that people can have community wherever they are in celebrating the full moon. Now, some people are familiar with the folklore names of full moons, like June is the strawberry moon, for example. Um, but we've taken the cue of naming moons, but we pick our own name for the moons. So we have a full moon coming up in February 12th, and it's right before Valentine's Day. Now, yes, there is lore about a Christian Saint Valentine. actually multiple Saint Valentines if you get into the Christian mythology and lore around that day. But where did Valentine's Day really have its roots? Well, the Lupercalia of ancient Rome,
Yeah.
and it was definitely kind of a wilder side, kind of part carnival and Mardi Gras. Um, and uh, and
Mhm.
so we're going to be doing taking that love theme, I guess more of the Hallmark version of of
We
reflections of love, and really looking at not only romantic love, spiritual love, and we're
Mhm.
going to be having a whole. It's usually about an hour, so there'll be music and chants and
are.
meditations and reflections. We also every month have something called the Green Face Circle. You need to be a member of Circle Sanctuary
Mhm.
in order to join Green Face Circle. It's free. We do it monthly, but it's taking a look at the environment and how our spirituality and environmental preservation, sustainability, how all of that can come together. Circle Sanctuary is part of Green Faith International. Our
Mhm.
Circle Sanctuary, Green Faith Circle, is part of that. And we are now doing a video presentation at our monthly meetings. Only the person presenting the video is on camera, and that's now going up to the Circle Sanctuary YouTube channel. So if you're interested in seeing, besides Reverend Shar, who is facilitating our Green Faith Circle ministry, there is Amy Dove and Steve Curtin, who are um, involved in helping to manifest this with her. And of course, we have community days in person at Circle
Yeah,
Sanctuary. We do all sorts of stuff on social media. And with Emil coming up, I wanted to mention, I guess, another resource. I've created something called Celebrating the Seasons. And so we have a free online guide at the Circle Sanctuary website. So whether you can actually join us in person or online at our Saturday, Bridget Day 2025 Imbolc Festival on February 1st, well, you can join us in spirit by taking a look at information that we have available. Um, I I really like all the festivals, and am so glad that we are at Imbolctide tonight and at the new moon. A great time for moving ahead as the wheel turns.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm. We have a question for you. I think it's for you, Selena. Uh,
Okay.
Let me see. So Munistera says, I have a question. How much of the way you practice came from the teachings of your land and the ancestors that used to reside there? Can you tell me about the ancestors on the land?
Mhm.
Yes. So I'll answer the first part of the question, which is um, I see working on a spiritual path as having a number of streams that flow into that river. And so for me, it has been ancestors from other parts of the world,
and I
and
think
I'm
I'm going to refit
multicultural
into
and
Circle
multiracial
Sanctuary.
according to family history. So I have not only different parts of Europe that are part of my ancestors who made their homes there, Celtic and heathen,
Mhm.
but in this country, according on my mother's father's side, I have Native American ancestry. So for me, having connections with nature religions in traditional ways from old Europe, as well as
Sorry,
this
every
part of
time
North
just like to finish
America.
up on you
I
and
was
ask you.
from woodland tribe ancestry. All of that really fits together really well. And I know
Yeah, there's like
once
two or three,
Circle
two, two,
Sanctuary
three.
Nature
Yes.
Preserve came to be, that that relationship with the land was really important even before we signed the paperwork. It was Samhain night. Jim Allen and I took offerings up to what's now known as Ritual Mound, where we have our microlithic, not megalithic, microlithic stone circle. And when we were up there, we had an encounter with the spirits of the land, the ancient peoples, as well as the nature spirits. And the message we had come to us is, well, you're thinking of buying this land. Are you going to care for us? And we said yes. So there was a relationship with not only the spiritual dimensions of the land in forms of the plants, the creatures, the elements, all those nature spirits, but the ancient ones that once dwelled there. Some people experience the ancient ones, or what you're talking about as ancestors of the land, as large guardian
Right, there's
spirits,
like two majors. Two
often
majors.
seen at our perimeters and at sacred sites. I will say that as we continue to work with the land in those early years, I was guided to some places on the land that had been used by ancient people.
Mm.
And one of our sites is on the National Register of Historic Places as a result of the Potawatomi helping to fund. We got a grant from them to help document and make a note of these ancient native sites. I am a strong proponent that we must preserve the ancient nature sites, whether it be from Native American tribes, more than 100 different tribes across the Americas, whether it's our um, European pagan indigenous peoples. Unfortunately, some of these ancient places of power are still being threatened, and we need to preserve them, not only for the historic value, but they are places of power. They are part of the network of energy around our planet. One of the ways I came to know
Let me see
about
if I have
the
something.
ancient places on our land was through dreams and some through visions. And we've had a number of people who have done meditative work and ritual work on the land have their own connections. So we're multicultural in terms of looking at our relationship with ancestors, because within our community, we not only have those ancient ones, we usually call them the ancient ones that have presence on our land, but we have the ancestors that are also part of our spiritual support systems as individuals in a community. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, but she said it is a special land up
And
there.
the observation
That's
brought
why
up.
my family went there from Finland. Um, then let me see. Oh, oops, I lost here. Um, that she is called to visit up the land where the ancestors were. She will come and visit someday. Thank you for the information, she said. So I don't know if you guys can see these comments or not, but
Yeah,
oh, can you?
Well,
Oh,
and
okay. I'm
I
it's
can
a
just
see
good
them. Yeah.
time. A good time to visit Circle Sanctuary Land is actually at one of our festivals. Now we have 1 day festivals, but we also have several weekend festivals for people at a greater distance. Beltane, beginning of May, first weekend in May. Lunasa, first weekend in August. And Samhain, last weekend in October. Why do I suggest coming to one of the 3-day festivals. Well, chances are my partner and husband, Dr. D, Dennis, will be guiding some type of meditative, magical walk to sacred, one or more sacred sites on the land.
Yeah.
And he he just turned 71. He's in great shape,
Mm-hmm.
does cardio,
Mm-hmm.
and keeps up with people much younger than him. So, but his walks are meditative, so they aren't a race walk. Those who want to have a more fast pace might get an individual tour with him for that. But um, it's a really wonderful way to not only be in community for rituals and workshops, but to go out on nature walks and explore sacred sites and to do individual meditations. And I really think, people know about celebrating the seasons and the 8 Sabbaths, but there's additional dimensions that you can tap into when you're working in a natural place that is protected, where you can be fully yourself. And part of having 200 acres in southwestern Wisconsin, USA, as pagan sacred land is to really have an opportunity for people to experience church,
Mm-hmm.
religious activity, spiritual practice in an old school way, actually
Mm-hmm.
going out in a beautiful natural environment and attuning to the divine as one as many, as great mother, great father, great spirit,
Mhm.
as earth, air, fire, water, spirit that interconnects. As the Fae folk, yes, we have a fairy shrine at Circle Sanctuary, and not only the young people, the little kids, the little ones enjoy being up there and putting up little fairy figures, and but people of all ages go there as one of the places where we connect with the spirits of the land, not just the Fae, but the land itself.
Man, we should have a family vacation, but there's a lot of us. It's about 30 of us. My 4 kids and grandkids. So yeah,
That
we
would
need a whole
just be fun.
campsite just to ourselves.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, we had a whole coven from New York City come out
oh wow.
a while back in the past, and it was their road trip to Circle Sanctuary. We've had people come from all over the world:
Mm-hmm.
India, Australia, New Zealand, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, Northern Ireland, France, England,
Oh wow.
Germany,
Mm-hmm.
South Africa. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just to name some of the names of countries that have come to me. Um, I do think it's going into Imbolc time. So there are ways wherever you live to tap into the magic of the season. Yes, calling on Bridget, if that's part
Mhm.
of your spiritual tradition, can be really helpful. Some people, do the Bridget's cross. And yes, some fashion them. This one came from Ireland. I got it at an Irish
Oh,
festival years ago. This one was actually made by nuns, and
oh
I've had some
wow.
good experience with pagan nuns who actually are very pagan-like. So many people hang it above their doorway, but you can use it to cast a circle, to send healing. It's a big sun wheel. Now, some are 3 and some are 4. Some people really like chanting to Bridget. You chant her name,
Yeah.
breathe, Brigantia, Bridget, different forms of her name. And I do think one of the great things about Imbolc is looking ahead for the turning of the wheel. One of our customs is to have our Yuletide greens and to kindle a fire to symbolize turning the wheel. So we have an outdoor bonfire. Yes, it can be a little nippy in Wisconsin, Today it got up close to 60 degrees Fahrenheit here, and was fabulous. Got to be outside without bundling up so much and go out and commune with the land. Bridget was very much connected with the oak, and most of Circle Sanctuary Forest, out of the 200 acres, 130 acres sacred forest, oak forest.
Mhm.
And just as in Kildare, the Church of the Oaks was taken to Bridget. Well, right here in this part of southwestern Wisconsin, we have our own kind of Church of the Oaks called Circle Sanctuary Nature Preserve. So, for everybody in the Northern Hemisphere, have a great Emog. For everybody in the Southern Hemisphere, have a great Lunasa. And at our festival, while it's an Emog festival, we recognize that half the world, the Southern Hemisphere, is celebrating the companion holiday called Lunasa. So, bright blessings to everybody celebrating. And I am so glad to be on this inside the cauldron tonight. And many blessings for your podcasting.
Well, thank you. Like I said, we've only been doing this since September 1st, but we enjoy doing it. It's a lot different doing pagan events for so many years, but yeah, we like doing this. We do have one question here before we go. Um, how can I get a cassette of your music?
Well, some of our music is on CDs, and there might be a few cassettes left. Um, I would have to check with our office. So what you could do is email circle@circlesanctuary.org and see if we still have cassettes.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure we have the CDs, but see how many cassettes we have of our first two albums, which were Circle Magic Music. And in 1976, we'll
I
be
think you want the
celebrating the
cassette.
beginning of our, or the
Like the website.
anniversary of our, um, in 2026, we'll be celebrating the 50th
And
anniversary of producing music for the pagan world.
are we talking about
Mhm.
TV2 or
And
383?
our second album was Songs for Pagan Folk.
Yeah.
So, and we have all sorts of things that we're starting to put on YouTube
Well, maybe
in
like
terms of
that.
chants and
Like
music and
Snyder Cut.
rituals. So,
Like just
um,
stay off.
thanks for your question, and thanks for your support.
Well, thank you, Selena, for coming. It's been fabulous. Thank you, Reverend Spark, for
You're
coming. So
welcome.
see you again.
Yeah.
So I just want to say many
As soon as
blessings
he pops, I'm just gonna
throughout
like
the
swap
this
off.
year, 2025. Keep doing what you're doing because you're doing absolutely amazing for everyone. And thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. And
Well,
one
thank
of the
you.
things that I endeavor to do is to encourage people to
So,
share their ritual
oh, he's on.
chants
They're on the other side of the
and
pole.
their ideas with each other on social
Oh, he's
media.
in
So,
New
the
York.
place where I share most of my little mini rituals,
Looks like he left
ritual
to.
chants, is
Looks
my
like he
Selena
booked at
Fox
13.
Instagram.
Mhm.
So, right after this tonight, I'm going to put up another form of Bridget chant. And this time it's Bridget of the Sacred Oak. I was able to go up and visit one of my favorite white oak trees on the land. And one of my ancestral Scottish clans, the Bissett clan, has as its emblem an oak that has been cut off, but that's sprouting green again. Well, to me,
Mm.
growing green again is a message for paganism revitalizing itself, the possibility of humankind being able to live greener, and for ourselves whenever we encounter hardship or transitions that are complicated, to recognize that resilience and that we can green ourselves again. So reverence it and bright, Bridget blessings. I'm so glad to be here with all of you.
Oh, well, we're so glad that you came here tonight.
Thank you. Thank
And
you for having us.
so much. Many, many blessings. And, I would love to have you back, maybe the end of the year or next year, to
Good
recreate
flycatchers can
everything
survive
that you
the
have
cold
been
weather.
doing. So, but until then, I want everybody to
Gator just
like
landed on
the
the pole
video,
to survive.
subscribe, go to Selena's page, subscribe to her YouTube, follow her on TikTok and every place else. And everybody have a blessing and a blessed evening. Bye.